Hi everyone, this is D7 from T13 Airsoft, here to give you guys a review on the Mayflower Assault Plate Carrier, or APC. Before we begin, I want to give some caveats and then the structure of the review. So with caveats, I want to say I don't really use this plate carrier anymore. I used it for a couple years, specifically 5 years total between 3 different Mayflower APC plate carriers, 2 in Coyote Brown, 1 in Multicam. The specific one in Multicam you can see for the majority of this review, I personally used for about 2.5 years. So again, 5 years total, but 2.5 years specifically on this one plate carrier. I don't use this plate carrier much anymore due to me shifting to more LBE style loadouts and slimmer body armor. Doesn't mean this plate carrier is bad, it's just a different philosophy I've taken. So as you see throughout the video, I have a couple different loadouts. Don't really focus on that in so much as the plate carrier itself, which is what the review is based on. As for the structure of the review, I want to focus on a little bit of history with Velocity Systems, some options you have on their website, and then into the features of the actual plate carrier, some wear and tear I've noticed over the years, and then finally any cons or flaws I see with the design, and then ultimately some conclusions where I determine, hey, is this something I would recommend? Okay, with that said, who is Velocity Systems and why is this called the Mayflower APC when Velocity Systems' actual website? So thankfully on the website they actually have an about section where they have summarized pretty well who they are and how this came to be. Largely, Velocity Systems has been around since 2007, while Mayflower Research and Consulting LLC came around 2005. They partnered together under Velocity Systems to actually design some products, and then I'm not sure how soon after, the APC and a couple other products were actually being manufactured. What I will say is if you look online, the earliest I could find was a review back to like 12 years ago, which would mean this first came out in 2011. And as we go through the features, take note of that, because in the year 2011, that's a very different market for tactical gear than in 2023. A lot of these features are very intuitive for that time period. Now since then, Velocity Systems and Mayflower have made a variety of plate carriers, and you can see it on the website, but the Mayflower APC still stands tall as a core component to what they sell. A couple things I find immediately on the website is that almost everything they make is 100% made in the US, and I personally have a huge soft spot for that. In addition, you can also get these in black, Coyote Brown, Multicam, and Ranger Green. And of course what you'll find is the big fat $276 price tag and the currently the 6 to 8 week lead time before you can get that product. Something else that really blows me away on Velocity Systems website is a whole different branch of the APCs where you can get a variety of different variants composed around 3 or 4 major components, and you can just Lego brick them however you want before they even head your way, which is really cool. As we go into features, I want to start with this. The plate carrier that I have, that you can see pictures of, does not have this mesh padding on the backs of the front and back main plate of the plate carrier. The second thing I want to talk about under features is the difference in the main body armor sizes. So what you see here is the actual APC I own, which is the default size you're going to get. Sometimes on this website though, it's labeled as small/medium. This other image is what the larger size looks like. You get a 3rd row of MOLLE for the admin section and then a 4th row on the main body on the bottom with extra fabric on the edges for a more rounded. As I mentioned before, much like the mesh lining issue, if you're not really sure which size is good for you, I would say call and email Velocity Systems. They'll work with you. Now going back to the one I have, you will have 2 rows of MOLLE horizontally over the internal admin pouch that comes with it, and on the outside of the larger kangaroo pouch you have 3 rows of MOLLE. What I find unique about this is, at least for the front of the plate carrier, all MOLLE rows have Velcro sewn on top of them as well, with extra Velcro on the top where the admin pocket is. This is great for the admin area if you want to put any patches or name tapes of any sort. More importantly, what this allows you to do to quickly attach chest rigs to this, including ones on their own website. You can also purchase quick clip systems that go on the horizontal MOLLE rows on the left and right of the front of the plate carrier, and then some extra clips you can attach to the side of the cummerbunds to give you up to 4 to sometimes 6 points of contact. Starting at the top, you'll see that there is an internal admin pouch sewn into the vest, which is great because it does save you a little bit of money from having to purchase one separately. In the front of it, you have a slit that does not close, where it's more of a quick access version of an admin pouch, while on the other side, while directly behind that, if you pull a small tab, you can get into a actually Velcro closed admin pouch that's a little bit bigger with 1 row of elastic MOLLE that helps retain A decent amount of stuff actually. Now moving down to the main kangaroo pouch, you do have about 1 inch of Velcro to retain it. Once again, pull it out, and then what I actually prefer is that after that 1 inch of Velcro, going down is just fabric. There are some kangaroo pouches that have Velcro that go all the way down. It's a big pain in the hindquarters to actually rip open. Now, another caveat that I forgot to mention earlier is Velocity Systems and some other companies do make inserts that do fit this plate carrier that allow you to put 5.56. I don't have that with me anymore. For the sake of this review, do take that into note as I will be sticking 5.56 mags in here. Now, as you open this up from the front and pull it over to get to the cummerbund tabs, what you'll find is there's actually only a small layer of fabric with the MOLLE rose with any pouches you put on it that you actually have to lift up. You do not have to lift up the actual kangaroo pouch internal to it that would hold whatever you have in there, specifically mags, which is nice. Okay, next up are the cummerbunds, which is one of the biggest unique features to this plate carrier. With that said, part of the customization options that you have on the website allow you to choose 3 different cummerbund options for this plate carrier series. The first is the CBN1, which is just a basic plain Jane elastic cummerbund that just has retention on each side. The second is the CBN1D, which is very similar, but it has elastic pockets sewed into it so that you can put stuff on the sides. And then the bread and butter cummerbund, which is the one I also got, is the CBN3, which is a more conventional outside MOLLE-sided cummerbund with some unique extra features. In addition, it has elastic on the end of it to help you conform to your body pretty well without having to adjust the main adjustment system on the back of the plate carrier. However, if you go and look on the inside of the cummerbund, you start to see elastic pouches that you can put stuff in, such as magazines, medical equipment, radios, which is very intuitive because what that allows you to do is save up a lot of real estate on your actual MOLLE panels to do something else. I can only imagine what it was seeing something like this in 2011, as that was a really interesting design back then and is still pretty decent today. Not many companies make a full-sized or close to full-sized MOLLE paneled cummerbund that still has these elastic pouches on the inside. Really cool to see. In addition, it still allows you to put side armor inside the cummerbund with a series of 2 flaps. So this cummerbund checks a lot of boxes for guys in the tactical community looking for something like this that's very versatile. Now, as you see in this image, you're not really seeing the elastic adjustment on the back. That's because I have it tucked in the back of the plate carrier. I'll talk about that later in the video, but what's important for now is to stress the sizing issues with these cummerbunds. Here's a chart made by, I think, SKS Tactical that does a really good job explaining the size differences, the increase in MOLLE rows you get, and how many internal pouches or elastic pouches you get on the inside of the cummerbund. As we're looking at the inside of it, the 4x6 level 4 ceramic plates get to be just a little bit tall on the Velcro lining on the top of it. So what you'll see is instead of using the standard Velcro on the top with the 2 slots inside of it, what you can do instead is order these extra straps that allow you to better secure hard armor without it falling out. I went ahead and did it anyway with some soft armor I had, as it just helps secure it better. Is it mandatory for armor you put in there? Again, it really depends on what you're putting in there. Even with soft armor, I would kind of recommend it. Again, call or ask Velocity Systems. With that said, I am a little confused. Why is there a second slot inside of the cummerbund that doesn't have any Velcro inside of it? Though I will say what it is really good for is tucking away a lot of wires, such as your push-to-talk if you have your radio on your back. Okay, now moving on to the back of the plate carrier. It's very basic with 6 rows of MOLLE, with the top one only having 4 cells instead of 6. Pretty decent. I mean, it's as basic as it gets, which I'm okay with. Very similar to how you maneuver the cummerbund on the front. You just open up the back flap of Velcro and you get to see 2 Velcro attachment points on the cummerbunds and the attached elastic to help conform around your body. Outside the back of the plate carrier, the only other adjustment points are the 2 shoulder straps with very minimalistic shoulder covers, which I actually really like that they're minimalistic. As you see here with one of them exposed, it's just a basic Velcro design with a buckle on the back. Overall, there's some really intuitive features and designs in this plate carrier, and it definitely had my attention when I first purchased one. Now, I mentioned this before, but I've had this plate carrier for about 2.5 years and had a pretty decent amount of use for it. With that said, you do see some wear and tear over time. This first example is at the bottom of the back of the plate carrier near the cummerbund adjustment and you'll see some stitching starting to come out at that fold where you wrap it around back toward yourself. You're starting to see a lot of the Velcro start to get fuzzy and worn down, especially near the front and at the bottom where some of it's kind of exposed, especially if you go prone, start dragging it around, but it's still quite functional. This could also be due to the body armor I'm using and the lack of a mesh lining, but what you're starting to see is certain friction points on the seams of the body armor inside the plate carrier, starting to cause pinch points on the one layer of fabric and starting to have very small holes being exposed to the plate. Hasn't been a structural issue yet, and they haven't gotten any bigger, but you're seeing 2 or 3 holes just around there. Okay, now let's talk about some cons or some issues I have with the plate carrier over time. First, it doesn't have a carry handle on the back. Carry handles are really there for convenience or to drag a casualty if they are injured. Next had was the plastic buckle on the back of the shoulder straps. This is a pretty exaggerated example I have here, but this would start to happen over time, especially if I had a lot of weight on the plate carrier and was wearing it for long hours. It was a bit annoying, and what I did was I just duct taped it over and then put camo wrap over it to hide the shine, and that fixed the issue. Next issue I have is the elastic adjustments on the cummerbunds. What normal size cummerbunds you usually get is the small to medium size, and I did use this for a good bit over the years. However, what I found was the elastic, though does do a decent job with conforming to your body, once you start to put some weight on these cummerbunds, maybe a canteen pouch or just a couple extra pouches, maybe an admin pouch, medical pouch, things like this, you start to get some weight on it, including side armor. Once you do, that elasticity isn't as good at retaining, and you start just to have the slightest amount of jiggle as you start to run and move around and not being particularly conformative to your body. It's not really that big of a deal, but it did bug me enough to say, hey, let's see what are some other options out there. In an attempt to get the best of both worlds, but still retaining the other design features of this cummerbund that I liked, I decided to just get the extra large version that gave me a bunch more molly rows that went fully around my body, and just hid the elastic underneath the plate carrier adjustment system and just paracorded the back of the cummerbund to the back plate. And that helped solve the issue. In doing so, though, it caused a new problem, which was the 3 internal elastic pouches were now pushed further back behind my body instead of being more forward facing. What this leads to is me having some difficulty getting to some of the back couple pouches. It's not the end of the world, but it is a notable inconvenience, and it's one I kind of imposed upon myself. It's not really going to affect any of you guys watching, as most of you are going to be perfectly fine with the standard cummerbunds, but do take that into account if you want to upgrade to a larger size. Another reason why I did this was I didn't really trust the elastic cummerbund to last over time either. Elastic stretches and eventually it loses its elasticity over time, and despite this being a very good thick layer of elastic, I did worry about that. I will say the original APC that I owned 7 years ago, I gave to a close friend of mine who's still very active in real steel and airsoft. And that elastic, though definitely being worn down over time, is still maintaining itself enough to be serviceable. So that fear is largely out of proportion and not to be worried about. And my last major issue that I had was the admin pouch in conjunction with the kangaroo pouch. Now, I mentioned it before, I don't have the inserts for the kangaroo pouch for magazines anymore, but I went ahead and stuck some magazines in here for an example. So having an internal admin pouch with a kangaroo pouch already pre-made seems like a good idea at first. If you have nothing in the admin pouch, it's fairly flat, and you can still access those pouches pretty easily, even flatter stand-mag mags that don't have a lip at the end like these mag pulls. However, if you actually start filling up your admin pouch, as I tend to do, it starts to have a distinct gap from the top of it down to the bottom, where the magazines are now hidden from the gap of the admin pouch. It doesn't make it impossible, but once you put gloves on, some other pouches on the front, it starts to become quite a crowded mess trying to get to those magazines inside the kangaroo pouch. Even with the lips on the Magpul mag, it wasn't particularly easy. If you're going to do so, I highly recommend getting magazines with lips, maybe some with Ranger plates at the bottom, or make some with some paracord and some other ideas people have thrown around on the internet before. For me, I decided not even to use the kangaroo pouch for magazines, instead use the zipper adapters to make it easier access as an admin pouch for flatter things like maps and paperwork. Even for the top admin pouch, it helps out a lot instead of having to open up the Velcro each time and instead quickly getting to your zipper. Oh, and I almost forgot. That first admin pouch on the front where there's no retention on the top, almost completely useless. If you want to put a dead rag or a sweat rag in there, that might work, but don't put anything in there you're not afraid to lose very quickly, as there's no retention there and it's just going to fall out the very second you start moving around. Okay, so in conclusion, would I recommend this? In terms of features, capabilities, and what this has to offer, especially understanding the time period when this was first made, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a couple of issues I have with it, but they're relatively minor in the grand scheme of things, and it's pretty decent. Now, with all of this said, current retail price on their website is $276 plus shipping and handling, plus another to 6 to 8 weeks before you'll probably even get the product. Does that impact my decision? To a certain extent, I would say for a lot of the airsoft guys listening, they're almost certainly going to go for a cheaper option if all they care about is airsoft. But if you want to integrate your gear to also be used for a more hardened purpose, I would recommend investing more into this. At $276, you're still getting something that's very high quality, that's still technically cheaper than, to say, something like a Crye Precision and some more higher end plate carriers. As with the 6 to 8 weeks, hey, good things come to those who wait. This equipment is being made at a very good quality, I would argue, and that does take time, so understand that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any more questions about this, then hit me up in the comments or hit our team channels up on social media. I'll be more than happy to answer some questions on it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you around next time. Bye.